My Harvard-educated cousin stole $450,000 from my stroke victim father, then posted Instagram photos from the beach house she bought with his money. Here's how I put her in prison. The pharmacist's voice echoed through my mother's phone. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Wilson, but your card has been declined again." I watched Mom's hand tremble as she hung up, fear rising in her eyes. "Mike, your father's medication. We can't afford it anymore. Something's terribly wrong. I'm Mike Wilson, 32, an architect from Boston with a normal life and a close-knit family, or so I thought until that phone call shattered everything I believed about trust and blood ties. That moment launched me from designing buildings to building a criminal case against my own cousin. What you're about to hear isn't just another family drama. It's a warning about predators hiding in plain sight, sometimes sitting right beside you at Thanksgiving dinner. My cousin Jenny, Harvard law graduate, respected Manhattan financial attorney, and my father's beloved niece, systematically drained my parents' entire $450,000 life savings in just 90 days, while my father fought to recover from a devastating stroke. But unlike most victims of family financial abuse who never see justice, I refused to let her get away with it. I built a case that put her in prison and recovered almost every dollar she stole. The evidence I uncovered will make your blood boil and might just save your family from a similar fate. Growing up, Jenny walked on water in our family. 7 years my senior with striking confidence even as a teenager, she blazed through Harvard Law with honors while I was still figuring out high school calculus. By 30, she was handling 7-figure accounts at a prestigious Manhattan firm, her face occasionally appearing in financial magazines as a rising star in wealth management. To the family star, my father would toast at every gathering, his eyes glistening with the pride of an uncle who considered her a daughter. Jenny would modestly lower her gaze, but you could see how she absorbed the adoration, expected it even. That unquestioning admiration is what makes this story so devastating, the absolute, complete trust we placed in her. Our families weren't just related, we were inseparable. Summer vacations together at Lake Michigan where Jenny taught me to sail. Christmas Eve traditions where she always brought the most thoughtful gifts. When I passed my architectural licensing exam after 2 failed attempts, Jenny sent a champagne delivery to my office with a handwritten note. "Blood is thicker than water. Family first, always and forever." The note still sits in my desk drawer, a reminder of beautiful lies. January 15th last year, a date permanently etched in our family history. Dad collapsed while shoveling snow, his body crumpling as a massive stroke ravaged his brain. At 68, my vibrant, opinionated father became a shell overnight. The doctors were clinically honest. If he recovers, it will be a long, difficult journey. You should prepare for significant changes in his capabilities. Mom was drowning in this new reality. Between round-the-clock hospital visits, insurance paperwork, and her nursing job that she couldn't afford to quit, she was functioning on autopilot. The medical bills started mounting immediately. Rehabilitation specialists, home modifications, medications insurance only partially covered. Then came Jenny's video call that seemed like divine intervention. I still remember her silhouette against the Manhattan skyline from her corner office, designer bookshelves perfectly arranged behind her. "Let me handle everything financial," she said with such genuine seeming compassion that Mom broke down in grateful tears. Managing complex financial situations during crisis is literally what I do for a living. You focus on Uncle Robert's recovery. That weekend, Jenny arrived with a leather portfolio containing perfectly prepared documents, power of attorney forms, banking authorizations, investment management agreements. She walked us through each one with patient expertise, translating legalese into simple language for our overwhelmed minds. "The medical expenses will be significant," she explained as she helped Dad's shaking hand sign the papers. "But we'll optimize the investments to offset costs. I'll handle everything: bills, insurance claims, Investment strategies. You won't have to worry about money during this crisis. The initial week seemed to confirm we'd made the right decision. Jenny sent detailed weekly reports with colorful graphs showing account balances. Bills disappeared from the kitchen counter, paid promptly. When insurance denied coverage for a specialized mobility device, it mysteriously arrived anyway. Consider it handled, Jenny texted when Mom asked about the cost. That's what family is for. For Mom's 65th birthday in February, Jenny orchestrated a surprise dinner at Chicago's most exclusive restaurant, a place with a 3-month waiting list that somehow made room for us. Life doesn't stop during crisis, she said, presenting Mom with a Tiffany bracelet. We need moments of joy to sustain us through the challenges. Looking back, the warning signs were hiding behind her generosity, like shadows behind a bright light. The increasingly lavish gifts, the gradually decreasing detail in financial updates, the subtle redirections whenever specific questions about accounts arose. But in the chaos of Dad's medical crisis, these red flags blended into the background noise of our family's new normal. None of us realized we were watching a master predator at work. I'll never forget Mom's call that Tuesday afternoon. I was reviewing blueprints for a new library project when my phone lit up with her name. The pharmacy. They won't give me Dad's medication, she whispered, panic rising in her voice. The card was declined. They said insufficient funds, but that's impossible. We had over $400,000 across our accounts. I kept my voice steady while balancing my phone between ear and shoulder, fingers flying across my laptop keyboard to access their online banking portal, something I hadn't done since Jenny took over. The screen loaded and time seemed to stop. Main account, $1,243.19 savings account, $578.26 investment portfolio, access denied. Nearly $500,000 evaporated. The room spun around me as I struggled to process what I was seeing. My calls to Jenny vanished into the digital void. Voicemail after voicemail. Texts showing as delivered but never read. Emails that disappeared into the ether. My architectural deadlines suddenly meaningless. I booked the next flight to Chicago, my mind racing between increasingly horrifying possibilities. Had their identity been stolen? Was Jenny's account hacked? Or was the unthinkable true? Landing at O'Hare at 11:37 p.m., I took an Uber straight to my childhood home. Mom was still awake, surrounded by financial papers at the kitchen table, her reading glasses perched on her nose, fear etched into every line of her face. The bank says all contact information was changed months ago, she explained, voice hollow with betrayal. Statements have been going to an email address I don't recognize. The investment account password was changed. It's like we've been erased from our own finances. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. I transformed their dining room into an investigation headquarters, pinning statements to walls, creating transaction timelines, and making endless calls to financial institutions. What emerged was a methodical extraction of their life savings, executed with surgical precision. February 12th, $45,000 transfer to Evergreen Investments. February 28th, $75,000 transfer to Evergreen Investments. March 10th, $60,000 transfer to Evergreen Investments. March 22nd, $120,000 transfer to Evergreen Investments. April 5th, $150,000 transfer to Evergreen Investments. Jenny's monthly reports had disguised these transfers as strategic allocations and market opportunity positions, complete with professional-looking charts projecting healthy returns. The documents looked identical to those her wealthy clients received, except they were complete fabrications. I needed expertise beyond my capabilities. With $5,000 from my own emergency savings, I hired Samuel Weinberg, a former FBI financial crimes specialist turned private investigator. His weathered face showed no emotion as he reviewed our documents, but his investigation uncovered the sickening truth within 72 hours. Evergreen Investments was incorporated in Delaware on January 19th, Sam explained, sliding the documents across my parents' kitchen table. For days after your father's stroke. The registered agent is Thomas Anderson. Jenny's husband, I whispered, the pieces falling into horrifying place. It's a shell company, Sam continued, his tone matter-of-fact as if he'd seen this scenario countless times before. No employees, no office, no actual business operations. Its sole purpose appears to be receiving transfers from your parents' accounts. But the true bombshell came when Sam placed a property record before me, a deed for a $750,000 waterfront property in Southampton, purchased 6 weeks earlier by Thomas and Jenny Anderson. The down payment? Exactly $150,000, matching the final transfer from my parents' account. My hands shook as I opened Instagram and navigated to Jenny's profile, which I hadn't checked in weeks. There it was, posted 3 weeks earlier, a sunset photo capturing a stunning beach house with wraparound decks and ocean views. Her caption made my stomach turn, finally got our dream vacation home. Hashtag blessed, hashtag Hamptons, hashtag oceanfront, hashtag dreamcomatru. The timestamp showed it was posted the same day Dad had broken down crying in physical therapy, frustrated by his inability to hold a fork steady enough to feed himself. I had sat beside him that day, wiping his tears, promising things would get better, while Jenny christened her new deck with champagne purchased with his money. The contrast was so stark it felt surreal, my father fighting for basic dignity while Jenny lounged on a deck purchased with his life savings. This wasn't opportunistic theft. This was calculated predation against her own family at their most vulnerable moment. A normal person steals and runs. But Jenny wasn't a normal thief. She was a financial attorney who had used her legal expertise to execute what she thought was the perfect crime. She knew exactly how to cover her tracks, create plausible deniability, and potentially claim authorization for everything she'd done. We need to be methodical, Sam advised as I struggled to contain my rage during a strategy session. She'll have explanations for everything, probably falsified documents showing your parents approved these transfers as investments. We need overwhelming evidence before confrontation. I hired Elaine Markowitz, an attorney specializing in elder financial abuse with a reputation for taking down professional exploiters. Her assessment after reviewing our evidence was blunt. This is among the most calculated cases I've seen, made worse because she weaponized her legal knowledge and family access. Over 2 intense weeks, we built an airtight case like detectives preparing for a major sting operation. Certified bank records documenting the systematic transfers. Incorporation papers proving Evergreen Investments was created by Jenny's husband days after my father's stroke. Mortgage documents listing the Southampton house down payment as a family gift. Medical records from Dad's neurologist confirming he lacked capacity to understand complex financial decisions when Jenny had him sign documents. Text messages between Jenny and the home health aid canceling services due to budget constraints while simultaneously transferring $120,000 out of the account. We have more than enough for criminal charges, Elaine confirmed after reviewing our complete file. The question is, do you want to confront her first or go straight to the authorities? I chose confrontation, not for mercy, but because I needed to see her face when her perfect crime collapsed around her. Some moments you need to witness in person. Faced with overwhelming evidence and the prospect of a much harsher sentence at trial, Jenny and Thomas accepted plea deals. Jenny received 7 years for elder financial abuse, fraud, and embezzlement. She was disbarred, her prestigious career permanently destroyed. Thomas received 5 years. The court ordered full restitution. Through the sale of the Hamptons house and seizure of other assets, we recovered $410,000 of the original $450,000. The missing $40,000 had vanished into luxury items. designer furniture, first-class flights to view the property, and a $24,000 watch for Thomas that conveniently disappeared before assets could be frozen. The financial recovery brought practical relief, but the emotional devastation to our family was irreparable. My aunt, Jenny's mother, refused to accept her daughter's guilt despite the overwhelming evidence and guilty plea. She accused us of setting Jenny up and severed ties with our entire family, including my mother, her own sister for over 60 years. Family gatherings that once brought joy became fractured affairs with carefully avoided subjects. Holiday traditions withered. Photo albums disappeared from shelves. The extended family splintered between those who acknowledged what Jenny had done and those who couldn't bear to believe it. Most heartbreaking was watching the betrayal impact my father's recovery. When he finally comprehended the full extent of Jenny's actions, that his beloved niece had exploited his stroke for financial gain, something in his spirit dimmed. His therapy engagement declined. His progress plateaued. Betrayal trauma, his psychologist explained, can be physically detrimental to recovery, particularly when it comes from someone deeply trusted. Yet, from this devastating experience came vital lessons I now share with anyone who will listen. Trust must be paired with verification, especially regarding finances. No matter how much you trust someone, basic protections and transparency are essential. Financial exploitation often targets the most vulnerable at their weakest moments, particularly during health crises when attention is diverted to medical needs. Power of attorney should never be granted without safeguards, including regular reporting to multiple family members and professional oversight. I now manage my parents' finances through a system of radical transparency. We have an independent accountant providing monthly reports to multiple family members. Any transaction over $1,000 requires two-party verification. We've implemented digital alerts for unusual activity. Most importantly, I've educated myself on elder financial protection laws and warning signs of exploitation. Dad is doing better now. Knowing his financial future is secure has given him space to focus on recovery. He's regained most of his speech and significant mobility. We're creating new memories to replace those tainted by betrayal. Mom has transformed her pain into purpose, connecting with support groups for families affected by financial exploitation. She shares their story openly, helping others establish safeguards before crisis strikes. If it could happen in our family, she tells them it could happen in any family. This isn't just about one family's betrayal. It's about recognizing that financial predators often wear familiar faces and come bearing help during your darkest moments. Financial exploitation of vulnerable adults is staggeringly common and widely underreported. According to the National Council on Aging, approximately 1 in 10 Americans aged 60 plus have experienced elder abuse, with financial exploitation being the most common form. Even more disturbing, in over 90% of these cases, the abuser is a family member or trusted individual. This crime flourishes in silence. Many victims never report it, too embarrassed, unwilling to get family members in trouble, or unaware of what's happening until their accounts are drained. If you're watching this and something feels familiar, that uneasy feeling about a relative's sudden interest in an aging parent's finances, unexplained changes in accounts, or resistance to financial transparency, trust your instincts. Watch for warning signs. Unexpected changes to financial accounts or missing statements, unusual purchases, or unexplained withdrawals, new advisors who gain exclusive control, important financial discussions being deflected or avoided isolation from financial decisions they previously handled. Protect your vulnerable family members by implementing basic safeguards. Share oversight between multiple trusted individuals. Set up alerts for large transactions. Conduct regular financial reviews with independent professionals. And always have several people involved in major financial decisions. Has your family experienced financial betrayal from within? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might help others recognize warning signs before it's too late. Thank you for hearing my family's story. If this video helps even one person protect their loved ones from experiencing what my parents endured, then revisiting this painful chapter will have been worthwhile. Remember, the most dangerous predators aren't strangers. They're the trusted insiders who know exactly when to strike and how to cover their tracks. Family should mean protection, not exploitation. Stay vigilant, verify everything, and never be afraid to ask questions when it comes to your loved one's financial well-being. We arrived at her Manhattan law office unannounced on a Wednesday morning. Our group, myself, Elaine, Sam, and Detective Maria Vasquez from the NYPD Financial Crimes Unit, drew immediate attention in the sleek reception area with its modern art and floor-to-ceiling windows. "Jenny Anderson, please," I said calmly to the receptionist. "Tell her it's her cousin Mike. It's urgent." Minutes later, Jenny appeared in a tailored navy designer suit, momentarily frozen when she saw the group accompanying me. Her recovery was impressive, a professional smile materializing as she ushered us toward a conference room. "Mike, what an unexpected surprise. Is everything okay with Uncle Robert?" "You tell me, Jenny," I replied, maintaining eye contact as Detective Vasquez placed her badge on the polished table. "You're the one managing his finances." Her composure flickered for just a moment, a micro-expression of panic quickly suppressed, before her attorney persona emerged. "I'm not sure I understand what's happening here." "Let me clarify," Elaine said, methodically placing evidence folders on the table. "We're here about the $450,000 you systematically transferred from your uncle and aunt's accounts to a shell company controlled by your husband, which was then used to purchase your Southampton Beach house. Those were legitimate investments," Jenny responded without hesitation, though I noticed her knuckles whitening as she gripped her chair. "I have documentation of their investment directives and consent." "Signed when he was medically incapable of providing informed consent," I countered, sliding the neurologist's report toward her. "While you were canceling his home health aid due to budget constraints." With each new piece of evidence, the incorporation documents, the property records, the bank transfers, Jenny's professional veneer cracked further. When Sam placed the enlarged Instagram photo of her Southampton house next to a hospital photo of my father from the same week, something changed in her expression. Reality was collapsing around her. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," she finally said, her voice barely audible. "After the stroke, the prognosis was poor. The doctors said he might never fully recover. They have Medicare and secondary insurance. They had enough for basic needs. That money was just sitting there. That money represented 40 years of my parents' sacrifice," I said, my voice shaking with controlled fury. "Dad worked summer jobs for decades, so they wouldn't burden anyone. Mom postponed her retirement. While he was fighting to hold a spoon, you were decorating your beach house with his retirement fund. You don't understand the pressure," she whispered, her carefully constructed professional image disintegrating. "The partners at my firm all have Hampton homes. Thomas's career is stalling. The window to buy that property was closing. I was going to pay it back eventually." Detective Vasquez stood. "Jennifer Anderson, you're under arrest for financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, grand larceny, and wire fraud." The shock on Jenny's face as handcuffs clicked around her wrists in her prestigious law firm was something I'll never forget. This Harvard-educated golden child, being read her Miranda rights as associates watched through glass walls, her carefully constructed life collapsing in minutes. By evening, Thomas had also been arrested. The Southampton property had been frozen by court order. Their accounts were under investigation. Jenny's law firm issued an immediate statement distancing themselves from her alleged personal actions. What followed was a 6-month legal battle that exposed even darker truths about how long this betrayal had been planned. Jenny and Thomas hired elite defense attorneys who tried everything, claiming my parents had approved all transfers, arguing that Evergreen was a legitimate investment vehicle, suggesting I had manipulated my parents against Jenny out of jealousy or financial interest. But during discovery, the prosecution uncovered text messages between Jenny and Thomas that chilled me to the bone, messages exchanged within hours of learning about my father's stroke. "Nobody checks finances during a health crisis," Jenny had written. "We need to move incrementally so no one notices. What if he doesn't make it?" Thomas had asked. "Then probate will freeze everything," she replied. "We need to act now while the accounts are accessible." They had calculated the odds of my father's death as a financial planning consideration. They had discussed the optimal transfer timing while sitting beside his hospital bed, holding his hand and promising to help. The premeditation was breathtaking,